You're scrolling through your phone and see that dodo emoji. You know, the chubby, goofy-looking bird that basically walked into extinction because it was too dumb to survive. Well, what if I told you that nearly everything you think you know about the dodo is completely wrong? That this stupid bird was actually a lightning-fast forest athlete with a killer instinct? Scientists have just blown apart 400 years of lies about one of history's most misunderstood creatures, and the real story will completely change how you see extinction forever. But before we dive into what the dodo really was, let's talk about the version we all grew up believing. The dodo we all picture is basically a walking meme of failure. This bloated, waddling disaster stumbling around some tropical island, too slow and stupid to avoid becoming someone's dinner. From Alice in Wonderland to modern cartoons, we've been fed this image of nature's biggest loser. It's become so ingrained in our culture that we literally use dodo as an insult for someone acting foolish. The bird has become the poster child for deserved extinction, the ultimate example of survival of the fittest gone wrong. This cartoon version shows a round, overweight bird with tiny wings and massive feet, barely able to move without tripping over itself. Every depiction reinforces the same narrative. Here was an animal so poorly designed by evolution that extinction was inevitable. We imagine dodos as sitting ducks, literally waiting around to be eaten by anything that showed up. The stereotype is so powerful that it's shaped our entire understanding of how extinction works. We've turned the dodo into a cautionary tale about evolutionary failure, a species that supposedly proved Darwin's theories by demonstrating what happens to the unfit. Popular culture has completely run with this image. From movies to children's books, the dodo is always portrayed as the lovable loser, the comic relief character who's too dumb to realize they're in danger. Educational materials often use the dodo as an example of what happens when species can't adapt fast enough. But here's the kicker. This entire image was built on lies, bad science, and a centuries-long game of telephone that would make any conspiracy theorist jealous. The real dodo was nothing like this cartoon caricature, and the story of how we got it so spectacularly wrong is almost as fascinating as the truth about what these birds were actually like. So how did we end up with such a twisted version of reality? The answer takes us back to some seriously bad 17th century art. It all started with one terrible painting that became the template for every dodo depiction that followed. In the 1620s, Dutch artist Roland Savery created what would become the world's most famous dodo image. And it was basically fan fiction. Savery had probably never seen a living dodo, instead working from either a rotting taxidermy specimen or sketches of overfed captive birds that had been force-fattened during long sea voyages to Europe. Think of it like trying to draw a wolf based only on seeing an obese, depressed zoo animal. You're going to get the proportions all wrong. Savery gave his dodo a swan-like neck bulge that pigeons don't even have, plus a belly that looked like the bird had been hitting the all-you-can-eat buffet for months. This single painting became the gold standard, copied and recopied for centuries. When Victorian scientists finally tried to study dodos properly in the 1800s, they were literally trying to fit real bones into the outline of Savery's fantasy bird. It's like building a dinosaur skeleton based on a dragon drawing. The problem got worse when live dodos were shipped to European menageries, where they were overfed and kept in terrible conditions. These miserable, bloated captive birds became the models for even more inaccurate artwork. Meanwhile, sailors' accounts were being filtered through people who had never seen tropical birds, leading to descriptions that mixed fact with pure imagination. The scientific community at the time didn't even believe extinction was possible for religious reasons. So when dodos disappeared, many people thought they were mythical creatures like griffins or phoenixes. Some scientists created entirely fictional species like the white dodo based on confused sailor stories. By the time cameras were invented, dodos had been extinct for over a century, leaving us stuck with centuries of accumulated artistic lies that had become accepted scientific fact. But modern technology has finally revealed what dodos were really like, and it's nothing short of incredible. Using laser scanning and advanced bone analysis, scientists discovered that dodos were basically the ultimate forest parkour athletes. Their ankle bones show massive scars where incredibly powerful tendons attached, the same kind you see in today's fastest running and climbing birds. These weren't clumsy waddlers. They were agile sprinters who could navigate Mauritius's rocky, mountainous terrain at incredible speeds. Contemporary accounts from Dutch sailors actually describe them as fast-moving animals that loved the forest, able to outrun humans once they reached the trees and rocks. The real dodo stood nearly 3 feet tall, was lean and muscular, with a formidable hooked beak that could probably crack your skull if it wanted to. They were perfectly adapted predators in their environment, using their powerful legs to scramble over volcanic rocks and their weaponized beaks to defend themselves. The tiny wings everyone mocks? Scientists now think they use them for balance while running at high speeds, like a tightrope walker's pole. Recent bone studies show these birds had the tendon structure of modern climbing birds, suggesting they could scale rocky cliffs with ease. Their lightweight but robust build allowed them to maneuver through dense forest undergrowth where their main competitors, giant tortoises, couldn't follow. Digital reconstructions of their skeletons reveal an upright, athletic posture completely different from the slouching cartoon version we know. The few accurate drawings from sailors who actually saw them on Mauritius show sleek, alert birds with keen eyes and aggressive stances. Scientists have even found evidence of their powerful grip strength in the bone scarring, suggesting they could hang onto branches and rocky outcrops with incredible force. These birds weren't evolutionary failures. They were evolutionary masterpieces, so perfectly adapted to their predator-free island that they had no reason to fear anything. Until humans showed up with rats, pigs, and cats that attacked their ground nests and competed for their food sources. Understanding the real dodo isn't just about correcting history, it's about saving the future. Right now, as we speak, there's another dodo relative called the tooth-billed pigeon on Samoa that's about to follow the same path to extinction. Scientists estimate that over 500 bird species could disappear in the next century if we don't change course. The dodo's story is a perfect case study in how human activity destroys perfectly adapted species. Not because they're weak or stupid, but because we introduce changes faster than evolution can keep up. When we study how dodos actually lived and moved, we learn crucial lessons about island ecosystems and how to protect the species that are still hanging on. The pink pigeon, Mauritius's last surviving native pigeon, is currently struggling with inbreeding and could use genetic assistance. By understanding dodo genetics and ecology, scientists are developing tools that could save dozens of other endangered birds. Researchers are even using dodo DNA analysis to develop gene editing techniques that could increase genetic diversity in threatened species. The dodo's perfectly adapted ankle structure is teaching us about biomechanics that could help us understand how other flightless birds move and survive. Every detail we uncover about their real behavior helps us build better conservation strategies for similar species facing extinction today. Companies like Colossal Biosciences are working on de-extinction projects, trying to bring back dodo-like traits in their closest living relatives. But more importantly, the Dodo case study is helping conservationists identify which modern species are most vulnerable to the same kind of rapid environmental changes that wiped out the dodo. Understanding how island ecosystems work, how ground nesting birds protect themselves, and how introduced species disrupt food chains. All of this knowledge directly applies to protecting endangered birds around the world today. The dodo's legacy shouldn't be as a symbol of inevitable failure, but as a warning about what we lose when we don't pay attention to our impact on the natural world. They survived for thousands of years until we showed up. That's not failure, that's success interrupted by human carelessness. So the next time someone calls something a dodo, remind them they're actually comparing it to a highly successful, perfectly adapted athlete that dominated its environment for thousands of years. What other facts about extinct animals do you think might be completely wrong? Drop your guesses in the comments. I bet there are tons of prehistoric creatures we've totally misunderstood. And if this video made you question everything you thought you knew about extinction, smash that subscribe button because we're just getting started on busting myths about the natural world.